It was time to move on to do some neck and headstock work. You can see here I have laser cut my logo into the headstock. Dia Vita Fabricaster. There's a little mouse mascot there. You can also see on the piece of wood underneath the neck all of the trial runs I did to try and get it the way I wanted it to. The laser printer leaves obviously a depression in the wood, and eventually what I'm going to be doing is filling that with epoxy. So what I'm doing here is using birchwood KC sealer and filler to seal the wood, because I'm going to be using a tint or a dye in the epoxy, and I don't want it to dye the surrounding wood, so I want to put a sealer on there so that doesn't happen. So I decided to just seal the entire neck from the headstock all the way down to the heel, because I felt like ultimately it would probably give a better finish, because the finish I'm going to end up using is Birchwood KC True Oil. So I apply the sealer, and then I rub it back with a clean portion of the rag. Now this is the part where I'm going to mix a very small amount of epoxy. Again, it's the same epoxy I used for the body, so it's a 1-to-1 ratio, so I'm just kind of eyeing it here, which is not the best way to go, but my cups don't measure this small of an amount, so I just tried to go 50-50 with the part A and part B. And here I am adding the pigment, which is a blue pigment. I was trying to get it to be, in general, the same kind of blues that show up in the guitar body itself. And I'm just going to take some on the tongue depressor or popsicle stick and just fill in the logo. And you'll be able to see in a moment that I leave it quite proud. I want to make sure that when the epoxy shrinks a little bit, it doesn't create a depression in the lines of the logo. So I leave it quite proud. I was just getting rid of the bubbles there with the blowtorch. And this is what it looks like with the epoxy wet. So following that, I need to then sand back the hardened epoxy, and I'm using the random orbital sander and a 320 grit sandpaper. In retrospect, the 320 grit sandpaper was probably a little too coarse, because as I worked my way through and started getting to the wood, I actually rubbed some of the laser cut details out. I probably should have swapped out the sandpaper for 400 grit at this point. So I'm quite happy with the end result. I'm adding a little bit more of that sealer and filler to the headstock here, and then following this I did the whole neck with True Oil, including the fretboard.